Back. El Rush Bowl behind the golden EIB microphone. Back to the phones we go. This is Scott in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Great to have you, sir. Hi.
Hello, Rush. I liked what you said earlier about the rally in Houston involving Prime Minister Modi. I think the main way the media are covering it is to say that Trump used the U.S.'s relationship with a foreign power to bolster his campaign. My perspective is different from both. I think the one thing that China has as far as this trade war that we can't really replace other than with illegal immigration is the workforce component. And we're kind of telling China, sending them a message that we have a good relationship with India, who has a similar umpteen million people that can be our workforce if things go south with China. So I think that went really well to send them a message that
you are
the United States and India are close.
You are very shrewd to realize that, and I want to buttress what you're saying with another. I'm sorry to do this to you, folks, but it's another Apple story. Now stick with me. It's not a plug for Apple. Apple's manufacturing base is in China. That's what's so noteworthy about Apple acknowledging that they're going to make their new Mac Pro in Texas. That's a big ticket item. As I say, I mean, this computer, if you max it out, you could spend $60,000 on it. It is genuinely a pro. It is for Hollywood or all people. It's for visual, video, and super audio professionals who need all kinds of computational speed and storage. I mean, the cheapest version of this baby is going to be around $5,000. Even that is not. It's definitely pro. Okay, making it in Texas when it was previously announced that it was going to be made in China. Now, most of Apple's assembly is China. The parts for all of their products come from all over the world, including America, but the assembly is in China, in factories that employ 300 to 500,000 people. Manufacturing things at Apple's scale is incomprehensible. So you have an iPhone in your hand. Now imagine in the next 12 months, Apple's going to sell 200 million of those. That means they've got to have 200 million of everything that's in one. 200 million camera assemblies, 200 million processors. Actually, more than that, because some of them are not going to pass inspection on manufacture. Some will be thrown out. It's incomprehensible. And to do this every year, to scale up like that is fabulous. Well, we've got the trade war going now with the Chicoms, and Trump is dead serious about winning this because we have to. Well, guess the next market Apple is mining for manufacturing. It happens to be India. They have the population base that could ramp up if necessary. Not saying it's going to be. They're also manufacturing some things in Vietnam now. But Apple, it's not a massive move out of China. They're not going to do anything to threaten the Chicom government because they still need it. These are just trends. But they are all trends happening because of one presidency. And this is the Trump administration. When Trump talks about the deals that previous leaders have made that were dumb and stupid, these are the things that he's talking about. Because America keeps getting ripped off and that has been the policy. That was the design. In the post-war era, America, as the price for being the victor and being the lone superpower, we were supposed to take it on the chin to show the rest of the world we didn't mean them any harm, that we weren't going to laud our superpower status over them. So if the UN needed some money from our back pocket, they got it. If NATO needed to be defended totally by us, they were. If we need to take it in the shorts on deals on trade with China, and we did it because we were going to show everybody that we didn't intend them any harm. And that what was absent in this whole formulation was the recognition or acknowledgement that America is the good guys. It was exemplified by Madeleine Albright, who, when the Soviet Union fell and the Berlin Wall came down, she was panicked. Oh, my God, Oh, my God, this is destabilizing. She said this is destabilizing. So the world, in her perverted view, was more stable when the U.S. had an enemy. That kept us in check, you see. The good guys don't need to be kept in check. The good guys need to multiply. The good guys need to influence. The good guys need to spread their influence around the world. But Madeleine Albright, and she was typical, and it was Republicans and Democrats both. This is the Washington establishment. Much preferred a competing superpower. It also served the purpose of keeping the American people up to speed with defense spending and so forth. Because we had this big bad guy enemy out there ready to wipe us out any day they want to. We had to be prepared. And it was legit. It was a legit threat. But the idea that we were not the good guy, that we needed a competing power as a second superpower to keep us in check, to stabilize the world, that's the way these people thought. Trump has always thought that was stupid. Why does America need to be in decline? Why does America have to act like we're in decline? Why can't we keep growing? We are a force for good in the world. We can spread our way of life, not impose it. You don't impose freedom on people. So all Trump is doing is trying to rearrange this order. They're calling it white nationalism. They're calling it it's not, that's patriotism, if anything. But beyond all that, it's economic sense. We are the engine of the world. Why should we be punished for it? And the left does this throughout our culture. In high school, let's say high school soccer, when one team is way better than another, what do? We penalize the good team. We make them start 20 points down or 2 points down or what have you. Then we go to the point where we don't even declare a winner because it's humiliating for the losers. Well, that kind of thinking, where do you get started? It started in American foreign policy. When militant Islamists take out the World Trade Center, what do? We convene a forum asking, what did we do to make them mad? It's been silly. You want to talk about dumb and stupid? Trump's exactly right. So Trump is trying to rearrange and reorder all of this. And if India wants to become a major manufacturing base, and if that is possible, and India's got strange rules. For example, if you want to sell something in India, whatever it is, their rules, it has to be made there, or a large percentage of it has to be made there. That's the original reason that Apple opened manufacturing plants there, because they couldn't sell iPhones in India at a price Indians could afford unless they were manufactured there. And the Indians wouldn't let the phone into the market anyway. So they've started manufacturing certain parts of the iPhone there, assembly. It's a slow process. It's evolving. But all of this, our caller's dead on right, all of this is putting a little pressure on the Chi-Coms. Believe me, I mean, there's 1 billion people in that country, and that can lead a government to not fret about the loss of 1 or 2 or 3 and a big whoop. Have a war, lose a couple million, fine. Easier to feed the rest. I'm not exaggerating. But losing hundreds of thousands of jobs, not even the communist Chi-Coms want that. That's people that can feed themselves. That's people that can provide for their families at whatever meager level. The Chinese government needs to create jobs out the wazoo outside of the cities. Cities are overrun. They're overcrowded. They need the jobs created where, for example, Apple's factories are. Apple's factories are in the boondocks, and cities have been built up around them. That's what the Chi-Coms need. They need jobs outside the cities. They don't want to lose them. The worst thing can happen to Chi-Coms is for all that manufacturing base to leave for Vietnam or to India. This is all negotiating strength and power Trump has. So it's in the midst of all this that he does a rally. On Sunday in Houston at the Howdy Modi rally. And here's just a brief little soundbite. Listen to these cheers. This is the guy the Democrats think that they're going to impeach.
Today we honor all of the brave American and Indian military service members who work together to safeguard our freedom. We stand proudly in defense of liberty, and we are committed to protecting innocent civilians from the threat of radical Islamic terrorism.
Now listen to this. Twenty 28 seconds this goes on. This was an event called the Shared Dreams Bright Futures event with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. That's why it was called a Howdy Modi Shared Dreams Bright Futures event. Howdy Modi. And little by little, Trump is picking off little percentages of voting blocks the conventional wisdom says the Democrats own. The Hispanics that showed up in mass for Trump's New Mexico rally, then this thing in Houston on Sunday. There's hardly any coverage of this rally yesterday. But, for all of the talk that Trump's an unsophisticated, undisciplined, doesn't know what he's doing, he's running rings around a lot of these pros. He's running rings around professionals that were given $100 million in 2016 and secured 3 delegates with all that money. Sit tight, my friends. There's much more broadcast excellence right around the corner.
Hear it now. Read about it in the paper tomorrow. Rush on the EIB network.
Just checked the email during the break here. Got an interesting one here. Dear Mr. Limbaugh, you are brilliant. However, why is there always a qualifier after that? You're brilliant, you're smart, but you're brilliant, you're smart. However, here's the part I'm having a tough time reconciling with what you are talking about today about Biden and Trump. On one hand, we have this big scandal. We got the whistleblower and the Ukrainian president, which I can only imagine was designed to give the Democrats a stronger reason for impeachment, meaning some whistleblower claims an intel person to overhear Trump trying to get the Ukrainian ambassador to do something, and the whistleblower calls the inspector general, says the president's cheating. Well, now we've learned the whistleblower may not have directly heard what the whistleblower claims to have heard. Even so, look, I'm going to say the president can talk to whoever he wants to. There is no permanent investigator of the president. There is no constant Robert Mueller investigating every day the president or the presidency. And I'll damn well tell you this. The intelligence communities of this country are not the official overseer of the presidency, but they've set themselves up this way starting in 2016 as active participants in the silent coup to get rid of Trump. So back to the email. On one hand, we have this big scandal, the whistleblower, the Ukrainian president, which I can only imagine was designed to give Democrats stronger reason for impeachment. However, as you brilliantly indicated, it seems to be an effort to remove Biden. So my question, is this a brilliant effort to impeach Trump that is backfiring on the Democrats? Or is this a brilliant effort to get rid of Biden? Or are the leftists just blindly rooting around like pigs in slop, looking for truffles, and occasionally they stumble on something? I'm confused, Mr. Limbaugh, about the original motivation and the actual intent. Is it possible the Democrats think they can get a twofer, get rid of plugs, and have a reason to impeach Trump? Good questions, because we do have two things going on here. We have the original report. Whistleblower claims to have overheard Trump doing something that he shouldn't have done, saying something he shouldn't have said, making a deal he shouldn't have made. He's committing a treasonous, impeachable offense. The whistleblower makes the report. The drive-bys react as predictably as anybody would think they would. They blow a gasket. They demand that Trump be impeached. This is it. This is the final straw. Out of how many final straws have there been? This is the last straw. There have been 15 last straws. And then, in the middle of that reaction comes the smack upside the head reality that what it really is all about is Joe Biden. Yeah, Trump may have asked the Ukrainian president to investigate, but investigate what? Well, the what is a deal that Joe Biden bragged about to the Council on Foreign Relations to try to stop an investigation of a deal and his son that was arranged between him and Ukraine, and there's a similar one with Biden and the Chinese, to enrich his son Hunter. So the question, how did this thing start? Did this start with a bunch of tunnel vision people that want to get Trump no matter what, and they didn't stop to think what the impact on Biden would be? Or is this a deep psychological play that the original intent is to get rid of plugs while making it look like Trump is the target? Or is it an attempt by somebody to do both? Well, time will tell. Time will answer this. I really do believe, based on the tweet I shared earlier from Paul Sperry about Jeffrey Toobin, all these drive-bys think it's outrageous that a foreign government would be asked to interfere. They've never heard of Obama and Hillary and the Russians? Are they that dumb? Are they that blind? Are they that tunnel visioned? And I think the answer is it's entirely possible that their range of knowledge is so narrow and so focused that anything outside it doesn't get in. I think it's entirely possible this was what they think is an effort to get Trump that may end up doing the exact opposite. It could be a twofer, but if it's a twofer, somebody running this thing has really got some grandiose plan here. I don't know who that would be, but it's worth thinking about. Hang on.
He's America's adult Rush Limbaugh on the EIB network.
Another way of looking at this whole Ukrainian whistleblower thing, and that's from the Democrat perspective. And we cannot forget that. The way the Democrats are looking at this, they're looking at the Mueller witch hunt as having won them the House in 2018. It's a sideline bonus. The Mueller witch hunt was designed to get rid of Trump. I mean, they really believe that Mueller and his team of Hillary-loving lawyers are going to find something, and the idea that Mueller handed off an impeachment document, which is what Nadler and Schiff, Pencil Neck have all been trying to arrange since then. But the Mueller investigation itself, for 2.5 years, folks, they lied to the American people. You know the American people believed it. New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, all for 2 years. I know you're blue in the face hearing me say this. All those multiple reports a day that Trump colluded, that Trump cheated, that Trump's a traitor. It led people in a poll, 42% say they think Russia tampered with voting machines. Anyway, the Democrats are looking at all that as worth it. May not have gotten rid of Trump, but we won the House. So here comes the Ukrainian witch hunt, whistleblower thing. It's another witch hunt. Trying to get some life out of this, and they're simply going back to the playbook. Okay, so Trump is a traitor, Trump is a cheat, Trump is unqualified. They're just recycling with another event. This is not Trump-Russia collusion. This is Trump-Ukraine collusion to take out old Joe. What a mean guy. Old Joe can't do anything to anybody. Old Joe doesn't even know where he is half the time. Old Joe is just Joe. You know, makes some gaffes, says some stupid things. It's just Joe. And here comes that meanie. Here comes that brute Trump trying to take him out. So the Democrats are looking at this If it worked once with the American people, why won't it work again? So from their perspective, whether this is real or not is not the point. They've got the media, and the media can make it appear to be real. And so that's what they're hoping they can strike gold a couple of times with this. What else was I going to say? There was one other thing I wanted to point out here. Well, it'll come to me. I've got a stack of news stories here that have nothing to do with any of this, and I'm hell-bent on getting to them in this hour because some of them really do send the message that we're in fat city economics. If people have this much time to be stupid, then economic challenges are not that great, meaning people really aren't having to work that hard to get by. You'll see what I mean when I get to it. And I've also got a soundbite here. Children at a climate rally in Washington on Friday spouting all this alarmism and hatred for their kids. You know, folks, I'm dead serious about this. I know even no longer really look at this exclusively as a political issue to be debated. Just stop and think for a moment on something that is really a hoax. There is no man-made global warming, and we have no control over the climate. All we can do is adapt, and we've done a bang-up job as human beings of adapting to the weather for our entire existence on Earth. And yet, look at what they've done. They have literally destroyed the innocence and the hopes, the dreams of children in this country, scaring them literally to death over a fake story about the weather as a killer. You can call it climate change, you can call it global warming, but it's always talked about as weather. It's getting hotter, and the icebergs are melting, and the sea levels are rising. It's not climate science. They've simply weaponized the weather. They've taken something that we can't control, therefore we can't fix, and they positioned it as a weapon used by Republicans. Republicans are using the weather to get rich, to destroy people, to wipe out the climate. I mean, it's absurd. And yet these young kids are literally scared to death. What these people have done to children in this country with this issue is abominable. It is outrageous the degree to which they have literally frightened the life out of some of these kids. So I want to get to that. But we've got some audio sound bites from Trump on this whole Ukrainian-Biden situation. And I want you to hear them. We're going to start with this morning in New York City at the UN. Trump went there, made a speech on religious freedom today. And as he's walking in, he had another one of these press gaggles where you can't see the media, but you can see Trump. And they're all shouting questions at him. And a reporter said, "Mr. President, how seriously are you taking this impeachment talk? You know, Democrats really hate you. We hate you. How seriously are you taking being impeached? Huh?"
Not at all seriously. Here we go again. They failed with Russia. They failed with recession. They failed with everything. And now they're bringing this up. The one who's got the problem is Biden. As you look at what Biden did what they would like to have me do, except for one problem. I didn't do it. What Biden did is a disgrace. What his son did is a disgrace. The son took money from Ukraine. The son took money from China. A lot of money from China. What Biden did was wrong. One of the reasons the new president got elected is he was going to stop corruption. So it's very important that on occasion you speak to somebody about corruption.
Okay, let me ask this question of everybody. Let's just assume for the sake of it that Trump did this, that the whistleblower, let's say Trump did call Ukraine. You know what? We got a guy running for president over here, and he's dirty. And he's dirty because of relations with your country, people in your country. Dirty deals between him and his son in your country and China. I think you need to look into it. Biden convinced you people to drop it years ago. You need to look into it. Stop. What is so wrong about this? Well, Rush, come on. He's asking a foreign government to meddle in an election campaign. Put yourself in Donald Trump's shoes for a moment. I know this is practically impossible because I'm going to tell you right now, no matter how much you watch the news, no matter how much you love Trump, and no matter how much you marvel at what he's able to take and deal with, you have no idea. And this is not meant as a criticism of any of you, anybody in the audience. It's an attempt at perspective. Nobody is raised to want to be hated and despised. Just the exact opposite. We're all raised and brought up to be loved. And we all want to be loved. And we all want to be noticed. And we all want to be special. We all want to stand out. There isn't a Republican, I feel safe in saying this, there is not a Republican walking around today in elective office who could tolerate for a week what Trump gets every day. And I know there's not a Democrat that could. The Democrats never get this kind of treatment because the media is the Democrats. So put yourself in Trump's shoes. He's got a thicker skin than any of us can even possibly relate to or imagine. But even he's got his limits. And he's had to sit here and knowingly watch the most powerful entities in the United States, in some cases the world, try to destroy him every day since 2015. And he's sitting there knowing that it's all lies. Every bit of it. There's not a grain of truth to any of it. Therefore, wanting it to end is entirely natural. It's normal. So while this is going on, the Democrats have as their front runner a former vice president who has actually done what you, Donald Trump, are accused of. Twice. With the Chi-Coms and with Ukraine. And in one of these instances, they took out your campaign manager, Paul Manafort. Ukraine working with Obama and Hillary. Ukraine comes up with a deal to benefit Joe Biden's kid to the tune of a company that's going to be worth X, and Biden's kid's going to get millions of dollars out of it. It's a business Biden's son doesn't know diddly squat about. Chi-Coms do the same thing. If you're Donald Trump and you're sitting there, you're going through all this, and you look at the Democrats about to nominate somebody who's actually done it and getting a pass, what do you think you might do? I'm not troubled by any of it. Folks, this is what pushing back against the establishment looks like. As I've said over and over again, it was never going to be pretty. These people aren't just going to sit down and say, okay, we lost. Guess Trump gets to run things. That's not how it works. And they're not used to attacks from the outside like Trump is. They know how to quell uprisings from inside the ranks. You know, like some whippersnapper, new member of the establishment, some law firm or lobby firm somewhere decides to get a deal going and make a name for himself real fast. They're gonna stop this guy. I mean, they know how to deal with the internal stuff, but somebody from the outside like Trump, nobody's ever had the guts to take these people on. It's like taking on Sauron, Lord of the Rings. You just don't do this. And nobody ever has. Here comes Trump, and you see the reaction to it. So, next bite is classic Trump. It's last Friday in Washington. Trump, the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, spoke to reporters at a joint presser. And a reporter said, Mr. President, have you actually read the whistleblower complaint?
It's another media disaster. The media has lost so much credibility in this country. Our media has become the laughingstock of the world. When you look at what they did to Justice Kavanaugh and so many other things last week, I think this is one of the worst weeks in the history of the fake news media. You have been wrong on so many things, and this one will be, I wouldn't say it will top the list because I think you can't do worse than some of the stories you missed over the last week or two. But the media of our country is laughed at all over the world now. You're a joke. Okay, what else?
That's Friday. That's a joint press conference with the Australian Prime Minister launching right at the media. Now we go to Sunday morning in Washington at the White House on the lawn. Trump making his way to Marine One to go to Texas to look at the flooding there in the Houston area, speaking with reporters, and had this to say about former Vice President Bite Me and his son, Hunter Bite Me.
They took a tremendous amount of money out of China. Now, if they ever took over a China negotiation, he would sell us out. Look at all the money he made in China. The son, he knew nothing. The son is a stiff. He knew nothing. And he's making hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. And he did the same thing in Ukraine. He knows nothing. This is a very dishonest thing that Joe Biden did. And then he said he never spoke to his son. Does anybody believe that?
Yeah, his son said that he did speak to him. Biden's son said that he did know about the deal. Biden said, I didn't know about this deal that my son made with the Chi-Coms. His son said, yeah, Dad knew about it. Anyway, his son's a stiff. I just hate the way Trump talks about people. I just wish he'd just stop pressing. Just make him stop talking about people. Nobody's a stiff. It's so unconscious. That's not going to end, folks. If Trump thinks that your son is a stiff, then he's going to say that he thinks your son is a stiff. How many people think your kids are stiffs? You may not even know. Bottom line. People laughing on the other side of the glass. You wonder, don't you? At any rate, you totally understand Trump's position on this. I mean, the Democrats are heralding and trumpeting Biden left and right. Great guy here, great guy. It's just old Joe. He's actually done what Trump's been accused of. Same event. Well, different event, same day. Sunday in Houston, after the Coast Guard briefing on Tropical Storm Imelda Marcos. Trump was talking about Vice President Bite Me getting the prosecutor fired in Ukraine and his own conversation with the Ukrainian president.
Something that shouldn't have been said. He just shouldn't have said that. Now, as far as my conversation, it was perfect. It was a perfect conversation. It couldn't have been any better. But we'll make a determination about how to release it, releasing it, saying what we said. It was an absolutely perfect conversation. The problem is, when you're speaking to foreign leaders, you don't want foreign leaders to feel that they shouldn't be speaking openly.
It was a perfect conversation. There has not ever been a better conversation than one Trump had with the Ukrainian leader. It was perfect. It was a perfect conversation. There's never been a better one. He's talking about a conversation. Just irritates the heck out of people when he talks this way. And finally, Lindsey Grahamnesty on Fox News Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo. And the question she had first, talk Ukraine for a moment. Does the president have to worry about it when a phone call is out there and known about?
Here's what I'm calling for. I'm calling for somebody in the Justice Department to look at all things Ukraine. I'm hoping the Department of Justice will look at the Biden-Ukraine connection like we looked at the Trump-Russia connection. Can you imagine if this was the Trump family doing business like this? The American media is not going to look at it. I'm hoping somebody at the Department of Justice will do for the Biden-Ukraine connection what we did for the Trump-Russia connection.
And we got to take a brief break. We'll be back and continue. Back to your phones right after this, folks. Don't go away.
Attention.